Hey folks, Natalia here. In this video, I will tell you a little bit more about why I decided to leave my high-paying consulting job and one of the most wonderful cities on earth, London. Um, I was one of those people who is an overachiever. I'm very ambitious. I always had this thought that once I graduate from the university, once I get the most amazing job, then, I will be happy. And then when I entered my consulting job, I started as an analyst, and I told myself, okay, when I'm going to become a consultant, things will change. And then, exactly the same thing happened when I become a consultant and thinking about becoming a manager. And that's when I will have enough money, enough fame, enough interesting job to actually be happy. And while I wouldn't lie, growing in your corporate career and climbing the corporate ladder does help in making your job a bit more interesting, and does help in kind of your financial situation. But a few of the things still didn't make sense to me. So I felt that I was really tired in London all the time. I was physically really exhausted. All of this kind of commuting times, I spent probably on average about 1.5 hours commuting on a good day. If I had a client somewhere outside of London or even in another country, that could be easily 3 hours commuting, and that was in my personal time. That wasn't counted as a time in my of my job. I wasn't paid for that. And that also meant that I had to wake up super early in the morning, catch an early train to be in a client office by 9 o'clock. And as a consultant, you also have to carry everything with you. You have a backpack, and you have your not so modern and not so lightweight laptop, and a charger and a mouse, and a notebook and all of that stuff. And you can constantly for 7-8 years I've been carrying that backpack with me all the time. And if you add to that commuting all the way to the train station, then grabbing a train, then taking a taxi, then walking, and all of that stuff for so many years, it exhausts you. And by the time I reached the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, it literally took me about a day to simply just recover. I was finding myself often just lying on the couch, not being able to move, not being able to do anything productive. And what I also noticed is that I didn't have any time to do any of the stuff I actually really like, or even need to do, like my admin stuff or washing my clothes and maybe preparing my food. So I ended up doing all of those stuff in the weekends. And so kind of similar situation was happening financially, although I had a really good salary because obviously London and consulting industry pays really well. I still found that I'm spending so much money on things like food and clothes and my accommodation in London. And then at some point I just asked myself, it does not make any sense. I am working in London so that I can earn enough money to pay for my accommodation in London so that I can work in London. And that's exactly the point where I started questioning a lot more of those things and thinking about how actually if I live somewhere else, or if I live a different kind of lifestyle, I might need a lot less money. And I made a series of hypotheses, and you can read more about those in my blog, which you can find on yourlifestartup.com. And a few of those hypotheses, they were related to money, and how if you don't work in a corporate job and if you don't live in a city like London, you actually don't need as much money. And so far, I'm now 7-8 months into my experiment. I'm certainly confirming a lot of those hypotheses. For example, one of my hypotheses was that if you have more time, you need less money because you can save on things like let's say you don't have to attend classes, you have a lot more time to actually exercise on your own, or you can go to farmers market, you have a lot more time, so you can actually go a little bit further to pick up things that are a little bit cheaper and better quality. And also you have more time so that you can actually cook at home rather than go and eat somewhere else. So, and you can actually do a lot more things by yourself. Like for example, you can do your manicures and pedicures and all of those things that you would typically go and and get from the outside, you can actually do it yourself, and that saves you a lot of money. So thinking about the financial side of things, thinking about how actually I was just working to sustain myself to be able to work didn't make any sense. And that was those two reasons were two very main reasons for me to make that decision. Obviously, alongside with that, considering that I was born in Russia and the UK is not my home country, so although I do have a lot of friends in London, which I dearly love and very much miss right now, I didn't have family, or even living in London, even seeing your friends is quite hard because it's a big city and you can't just simply bump into each other. You need to plan things million years in advance, and again, if you want to see someone, that means it's a half a day affair because you need to get there and it takes an hour, and then you need to go back and it takes another hour, and of that very precious free time that you have, do you actually want to spend 2 more hours on the train to go and see your friends? So all of those things stopped making any sense to me, and this is how I arrived to a decision that I'm going to find a different kind of place for me to live, or maybe it will be the whole world, and maybe I will mix and match as I'm doing at the moment, and a different kind of job for me to do. And again, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing a little bit of everything, and I'm building my portfolio career.